From the world of AV programming and control with James King, I'm Steve Greenblatt, and this is Ask the Programmer. Hey, James, how are you today? We just got back from Infocom, and it was great seeing you.
Oh, it was great seeing you at InfoCon, Steve. I know our schedules didn't allow us like much time to meet up, but it was nice to be able to run into each other as we were running from meetings. How are you doing?
Doing well. This is recorded in June of 2025, so we just got back last week and just getting caught up, probably as you are. But I wish that we had more time to spend together, and I think that I've said that to most everybody that I'm friends with because it just time just gets away from you, and if you're there on a mission, it's really hard to balance everything. I kind of feel like we need like friends days at Infocom.
Yeah, no, definitely, because there's definitely not enough time to get everything done and meet everyone and hang out with everyone. So it's definitely jam packed. Like people, I always laugh when people is like, "Oh, you're going on vacation." I'm like, "No, it's actually more work than work."
Yeah, and one of the things that, as you know, we tried to do the healthy AV initiative, which basically is just about trying to wake up and be at your best every day, and get a decent amount of sleep, eat right, do some things to um, put you in a good position to be successful. So with that comes some compromise, and you don't get
Yep.
not staying out late and not socializing as much, unfortunately.
Oh, I agree. And I think that whole week I was back at my hotel no later than 10, maybe 11. And did I miss out on some of the after parties? Yes. But like you said, I was on my best game mentally for the whole week.
Yeah.
I even purposely, there was one day I know I was presenting two courses, and I was like, this is going to be mentally draining on me. So I purposely was like, no, I'm not going out to dinner with anyone. I'm not doing any parties. Right after the show closes, I'm going back to my hotel, grabbing a small dinner and just relaxing.
Yep.
And I did that.
Good for you. It took me some time to figure that out, and it's Brittany DeCesare, who I work with, is somebody who brought that to light, I'm glad that you appreciate it as well, but because it's a helpful strategy and it's worked out well, and I feel it's beneficial. So I'm glad to share that with you and with others.
Yep. No, agree. It's a great idea to think about and movement to do, because I think too many people feel they need to take part, even if they don't want to. They feel like, oh, I need to take part in this, and you don't have to. You can still get a benefit of the infocom and the events and all that stuff without taking part.
Yep, I agree, and yep, there's it's it, it it's a compromise, and you just have to try to prioritize what's most important. Um,
Agree.
with this talk about Infocom, one of the things that Infocom is known for is uh, taking classes and perhaps preparing to get certified or passing certain exams and or getting renewal units for CTS. So what we thought that we would talk about today was a question that we received from our mailbag. Um, is it worth getting certified, and which certifications matter most to programmers? So it's a tricky question and an interesting question, and I think that at different times in your career you might answer this question differently. But if what are your thoughts, James?
So I'm going to take the value part first, and the way I answer this, because I've actually been asked this multiple times, like what values do certification add? The value is the value you yourself put on the certification. It's not what others put on it. Is because if you go out and get, I mean, let's put it this way. I just got my CTS. I just last month took the exam, and that was a personal goal of mine. It's not giving me more money at work. It's not giving me a different job at work. It was a goal I put on. It was something I valued and I wanted. Now, having that, and because I valued it, it shows when I talk about it and when I explain to about it and why I think people can go get it and work on it and all that stuff. There's other certifications I got. I gave no value to it. Like, and but some people look at it and be like, oh, that's a cool certification and all that stuff. It's like, no, it means nothing to me. So I didn't put value on it. So again, I think the value of certification is what value you put on it.
That's a great approach. I admire that, and I think that that's important to think about rather than just checking boxes. And if you put value on it, you're going to invest in it, and the knowledge is going
Yeah.
to mean something to you, and it's going to be an accomplishment. And as you said, it's a goal that you have, and sometimes setting that goal may be something that matters to you, and it doesn't have to be justified for another means and another you didn't um, need to do it to satisfy any requirement or anything, and it's personal goals are really important. Um, I if I were to have to answer this question, I believe some certifications you want to do, one because you want to show your commitment to a craft or some type of learning, or in the case of the CTS, I believe, it basically shows that you're invested in the industry to know the foundational information. I still take a lot of value out of having a CTS and renewing it. But if I had to go back and take that test again, I don't know that I would easily be able to uh, pass it without studying, which, make, you kind of have to go back and say, well, then why is that the case? And is being a CTS, does it still carry the same amount of weight? But, one of the things that I think people tend to have a problem with is having to pass tests that are not on subjects or not demonstrating skills that actually pertain to what you do in your job. So there's different arguments there. I also have a programming certification, but I haven't done programming in quite some time, but I keep it up because I have it and I don't want to lose it. But if you were to ask me to do programming, it would take me some time to get back up to speed. Um, so I guess answering these questions, this question in particular, is it worth getting certified and what certifications matter? I think part of it is where you are in your career. If you're trying to do something that is you're trying to advance for some reason, or you're trying to get a different job, or you're trying to um, kind of populate your I guess your resume, if you will, that says, these are all your accomplishments. But I think what you do with the certification or what you do with the knowledge is what's most important. And because having a certification and not doing good work, that actually is not very, congruent. And I think that it actually devalues the certification when you see people that are not able to um, ca- uh, de demonstrated or make the certification, put the certification to good use. So, that's some of my thoughts, because I've had that concern for some time that, there are a lot of things that contribute to being successful. Certification is only a small part of that. It's the work that you do that is really most important.
So I agree. I have met many people who have certifications who are, I'll admit, don't know what they're doing. And I've met people who do not have certifications who are brilliant in what they do. So certification alone does not make you what you are. It's what work you actually put into it and take away from it. Sometimes that certification, you just use it, you value it to get into a, let's say a club, like, we'll call it a club. I've known people who are talking about AV, who know their stuff, and people are like, well, you don't have your CTS, so you don't know what you're talking about. Just because they don't have the CTS, even though they're, very knowledgeable and know what they're talking about. And there are people looking, well, you don't have your CTS. You're not part of us. You don't know what you're talking about. And I actually had conversations with someone who had their CTS, and I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, I've gotten into discussions with them and saying, like, you really don't know what you're talking about. This is wrong. You're doing it wrong. Um, but they're like, but I'm CTS certified. Cool. Doesn't mean you know what you're doing. So sometimes it opens that door to get you in a club. And then that's something you value, that you're like, hey, I want to be part of that club or that group of folks. That's a value you put on. Sometimes you don't want to be in that group. And then you're like, okay, that certification means nothing to me. Um, I'll admit I did apply for a job where one of the requirements was the CTS. I didn't have the CTS at the time. I could easily do the job. I got booted out right away from the application because I didn't have the CTS. I have no ill will feelings to the company. That's a requirement they had. Cool, no worries. I can understand. They probably get 1,000 applicants. They got to filter it out somehow. And so that was one of the way they filter it out. I then got another job. I think in my current one, I think this is a better fit for me. Um, so the certifications we get are only value if we put the value there. We can show people that, hey, I do know what I'm talking about. I can do the good work. And then having CTS is kind of be like, oh, okay, kind of reinforcing what people are already seeing in you. And like you said, Steve, is if you do bad work and you're like, but I am this certified, cool. I don't trust that certification then.
True.
Yeah.
The certification doesn't mask the person that's owning it.
Mhm.
It may um, validate them a little bit, like you said too, but it certainly is not um, the the only thing that needs to be considered, because quite honestly, it's, it it only demonstrates that you have the cursory knowledge and you're able to either pass the test or satisfy the requirements. If you
Yeah.
if we take this a little bit further, it just made me think about degrees too. And in our industry, there's plenty of people that are very, very successful without degrees, and quite honestly, I have been running a business for some time, and I don't have a degree in business, and I it wasn't something that I went to school for. Would I like to have that? Sure, but why is it important? It's not is I having being able to say that I have that is makes me feel good, but it's the experience of getting it and the knowledge I would gain from it and the people that I would learn from, I think that's most important to me.
I agree. And everyone who's been following me knows I always say, always be learning. I am a big one for learning. If you get the certification, you get the degree or not, it's education. Again, what do you take from it? Um, Even with my whole journey of reading, like I read a lot of books. Some of them are junk. I'll get to the end and be like, I don't agree with anything this author says. Put the book down. It doesn't mean the book is bad. Doesn't mean that it's worthless. It just didn't resonate with me. I learned nothing from it. I took no nuggets from it and applied. Same thing with the certification. Just because you got someone who got certified who's doing bad, that's on them. That's not on the certification. So these people are like, who do pick on the certification. I know I kind of contradict myself for saying this, but it's really the person. The where the value of a certification lies is what the person does with the knowledge they get.
Yeah. Um, just before we wrap up, to answer the question fully, are there any certifications other than CTS, which I think we both feel is a good one to have if you're a member of the AV industry? Are there any others that you would recommend, or some that you would say would be more important than others?
Um, I would say, and it's one I have not gotten, but I have looked into it. There's a couple, two I would say. One, project management,
Mm,
because everything's a project. So understanding how to handle that would be awesome. I don't have my PMP or any of that stuff, but I've seen some cool stuff from there. The second is ITIL. Understanding framework, especially in the IT world, will really help us. I've taken some ITIL courses and it's really interesting, and it lays a lot of things out.
I like that. I was going to similarly say, instead of looking toward particular brand or manufacturer that may give you proprietary or biased knowledge, I would highly recommend doing things that are a bit more global, that you could apply, that are foundational topics that apply to whatever areas that you're going to be pursuing. So what I mean by that is, learn languages that you can apply, or learn fundamentals of computer science if you're a programmer, or how to program, not necessarily program in a particular language. You can learn the languages later, but learning the approach, the methodology is what's most important. And doing things that are foundational pieces, like you mentioned. I wasn't thinking about project management, but I think it's a great one. I think networking is a great one. I think,
Mhm.
um, doing things where you can learn, people skills is always great. But for programmers in general, um, focusing more on doing learning programming that is not specific to a particular product, I think will be a
Yeah,
lot more valuable.
I agree. And I'm sure we have some manufacturers who listen. Um, this is not knocking manufacturers' training. I do think they're valuable. But I will say this to our listeners, to our manufacturers out there, you got to get through their first level certifications, because 99% of them are just sale pitches.
Hmm.
I mean, I understand what the manufacturer is doing, but I've gone through a lot of those 101, and it's like, here, this is a product you would buy for this, and this is a product you provide. I don't need to know that. But once you get through, into the higher level, the 102s or 103s or level five or whatever they're calling them, then you start learning more of those foundations that you can apply globally. So sometimes you just got to stick it out.
Yeah, and it kind of that's an amazing point. And if you really want to demonstrate your knowledge, figure out how to teach it. And I think that would be a great way of being able to and we've talked about this in past shows, is that, you
Yeah.
want to be able to apply things, and teaching is a great way to cement the knowledge that you have.
Nope.
Well, I
Agreed.
think this is a good way for us to wrap this one up. I hope that this question was answered in a way that the audience can have some real tangible takeaways, because that's what we're here for. And we look forward to receiving more of these types of questions. And we're going to be focusing a bit more on the mailbag on episodes that we don't have guests. So please help us fill that up. And this is your way of being able to drive the direction of the podcast, and also get some of the questions that you have answered. James, how can people get in touch with you? How can they keep in contact, learn what you're up to, and continue this conversation.
The best way to get a hold of me, you can Google me, you'll find me. I'm out there. Um, on LinkedIn, ask the programmer community there. On X at AV underscore James King. I'm kind of less active on social media than I used to be, but again, Google me, you'll find me. I'm out there.
Absolutely. I think that more and more of our industry is turning to LinkedIn, and that's why we have a community there, and we're going to try to put a little bit more emphasis there. But it also is important that we hear from our audience. So please reach out and do some posts or commenting on what's being provided, and hopefully we can create a little bit of conversation and keep the community thriving. For me, you could reach me at Steve Greenblatt on social media. My company, Control Concepts, provides some of the building blocks to help programmers succeed, and we have integrations with products and additional um, resources to enhance the functionality of your systems, and all of that can be found at controlconcepts.net. We would like to encourage you to view our show on YouTube or listen on your favorite podcast player, whichever one is your preference. But we are available in two different formats. And we look forward to hearing from you and having more of these questions answered and having more guests and keeping the community on LinkedIn moving forward. So join us at Ask the Programmer there. And thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. This has been Ask the Programmer.